So yes, we do games on the side. It's a little hobby project, and I've always been a big fan of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I've created some this retro gaming portal called Serian.net where you can play King's Quest and Space Quest. In JavaScript, that was years ago. And I still keep doing my little game projects. They start in HTML, sometimes using a DOM, sometimes Canvas. And I want to thank the PhoneGap team and the Cordova team and all the others for pushing this platform forward, because it's really amazing to be able to use this and get the games out on mobile. Now, one of the, I really try to not get any lolcat pictures in there, which is the first achievement unlocked. I'll be doing some other achievements throughout the presentation. Achievements are really fun, and leaderboards as well, and we underestimate how much fun they can bring to the game or your app, and also to you as a developer because of the feedback that you get. So if there was a ranking for best avatar on the PhoneGap side, turns out that, yay, I was a winner. So I really wish some of the others may still change the profile picture. You'll go voting. No, but I can talk about retention and keeping people's attention and getting them back into the game. But one of the great things about achievements and leaderboards is that you get these wonderful emails by people that you wouldn't otherwise receive. For instance, people saying, hey, thanks for the awesome games. I know that you put them in your recent game, Oh No. Could you please put leaderboards and achievements also in the earlier game called Oh Hi? So mails like these, when you can create an achievement in your game that is hidden, and I didn't know this myself, but people really want to know how to get those hidden achievements. There's discussion going on Twitter, people helping each other out, and that whole world is really amazing. It adds a whole great layer to your games. And like I said, I wasn't using this first, and my takeaway from having done this as an end user of PhoneGap and getting it all to work on both iOS and Android made me aware of one thing, that I will definitely use this for all future projects. So I hope by this little case study that you'll see that it's really easy to do, and if you want, I really recommend to use these as well. Start using leaderboards and achievements in your game. Okay, my talk will be, sorry about the little red and the nice little font. I was just trying this out. I think this little template has not been used ever in the world, so that's a nice little achievement as well. What I'll be talking about, the case study will be about some games that I did recently, Oh Hi and Oh No. I'll be showing the leaderboards and achievements that I've used there. I will take a look at what the guidelines say, because this was new for me at the first time, and there was some nice little tidbits that you need to know about before implementing these for both iOS and Android. We'll take a look at what you need to do to prepare your game services for both Game Center and for Google Play. And we're not going through the hardcore route. We'll just use 2 plugins. I'll show you the ones that I've used. And a tiny bit of JavaScript middleware to hook things up. And basically, that's it. Now, the games that I tend to design and make, they all have a thing in common. Some of my friends at the office, they've got a name for me. Turned out to be the guy who designs grid with numbers games. And it's something I can't get rid of, because if you look at the repeating pattern in some of the games that I've did, some you may not be familiar with and some you may, there's this repeating pattern of, well, grid with numbers. So there's this Quento, a little math game I did for my son who was having math problems. I built a game, very simple, and a lot of people use it now in schools for math practice. And it's another game I built at first in HTML, and then I took a little sidestep in Unity to give that a try. It was called Demolition, and now I've made some other games called the black one and the white one called Oh Hi and Oh No. And as you can see, they're all about grids with numbers, so I'm definitely trying to not create a game that's about grid with numbers. The top right was actually a bit different. It was about hexadecimal enemies that are approaching, and you have to fight them off with binary things. So it's a bit awkward. You should give it a try. It's called Flippy Bit and the Attack of the Hexadecimals from base 16. The domain, the URL was free, by the way, and the game is so it's most of these games are completely free, and I'll be talking about these the most. These are the games reference. I wonder is there anyone who has installed these games or know these games? I see one. Yes. Thank you. Otherwise, my other slide would be completely useless. But at least I had it right. One person that played this game. Now, you can go ahead. The games are called Oh Hi and Oh No. They're completely free. There's no price, there's no ads, there's no in-app purchase. So if you want, you can go ahead and find them. Of course, thanks to PhoneGap, they're available on iOS, Android, Windows Phone, also on the web, by the way, the Chrome Web Store and any other store you can think of, which is the great thing about creating games in JavaScript, right? Okay, that was another achievement. Now, just a short little description of the game, and I'll start with a short story about the game before I'll talk about the integration of leaderboards and achievements. The basic concept of this game called Oh No was that there are some digits, and each number tells you how many other blue dots it can see. So if you look at that little one at the bottom, it can see only one, which is the one next to it, so the rest must be obstructed. Those are red dots. That's the entire game. And when I designed a game, I started doodling things on paper. Maybe that's causing some of the games to be grid, numbers, games. And when I came up with this concept, I had it doodled on paper. I printed it out and showed it to my friends. That's basically what I do. This is in Dutch. I found the original pitch that I made for some of my friends. At the office, I said, okay, in Dutch it says, hey, it's grid with number man, grid with number games man. I gave them this and they really liked it. I thought, okay, maybe I have to make a game out of this. But I went Googling, and I found that a Japanese guy beat me to this game concept. And they have come up with practically any logic game you can think of. So that really made me very sad. This was really how I felt. You know, you come up with a great game, and this is what happens, which basically relocks my achievement because I couldn't resist the urge to look at a picture. But the nice thing was, actually, I just threw the game away. This whole Oh No game, I didn't even have a name for it. I just threw it away. And a friend of mine asked, hey, Martin, you're working with generators and solvers in JavaScript. How does that work? And you're using web workers to generate these games in the background. Could you do a talk about that? So I made a little presentation for in the office about it. And I took a different game. So I actually took I took binary Sudoku. That turned out to be Oh Hi. And then I thought, well, I still got that other game lying around. Maybe I should make that too and release that too. So I picked that up, put it in the same kind of framework that I had lying around, released that game, submitted it to the App Store. And I was just waiting for them to release it. So I thought, okay, what should I do? I mean, thanks to PhoneGap, the game was already lying around, ready to be released for Android at the same time. So I thought, why don't I just investigate in getting achievements and leaderboards up and running. And it turned out to be so very simple that I built them for Google Play, and I canceled the version that was already submitted to the App Store, and included achievements and leaderboards there, and practically maybe 1/10 of the time, because I had the framework lying around and everything was up and running, because it's just really easy. It's so simple to integrate leaderboards and achievements that if I can do this, really anyone can. And it seems like I've got maybe less than 30 minutes, and in less than 30 minutes you can even probably code with me or get them up and running in your games and apps. So let's get to it. I do use the default look and feel that you get from leaderboards and achievements. So in my game, I've created a few buttons at the bottom. There's, if you look at the screen on the left, the 2 gray buttons for achievements and leaderboards. They show the achievements that you got, the leaderboards, and this is the graphical user interface that Google just gives you, and there's a similar interface that Apple gives you. So we stick with that. It remains really simple and really effective and really fun. Okay, first look, let's take a look at what the guidelines say, the quality guidelines from Google and the guidelines from Apple on what you need to think about when you implement leaderboards and achievements for your games. First one, sign players in immediately after your game starts. Now this had me a little bit confused because Google recommends this, and on iOS there's no other way to go about. So if you include the SDK, you have to sign them in, users in immediately, and for iOS there's not even a way to sign out. For Android there is, and they recommend you the option to do that, but for iOS you have to, you can only sign out using the Game Center app. Another guideline said, okay, remind players that they are signed in. Now, of course, once you sign in, you'll get a notification, a system notification, say, okay, hey, Martin, sign in, hey, welcome. So you know, okay, I'm signed in, I can get achievements, leaderboards, quests, and everything that they provide. But it's a recommendation to just make minor details on visible details that you are signed in, because you don't get that notification every time. You only get it if you haven't been signed in for some time, give or take half a day. So you can do little details like a gray or a green icon to notify the user that they are signed in. This is an important one that you really have to take care of if you implement this. So remember, if players decline signing in, because if you auto sign in and you press cancel, that's fine, but the next time you don't want to auto sign in the user. And I came in this limbo state while I was testing this on iOS, because it seems that in sandbox mode, once you sign in, once you decline and you do that another time and another time, which is something that you may be doing while you're testing on an emulator to see how things are working, you get locked out and you cannot sign in. So you have to reset, you have to reinstall your app, sign out in Game Center, sign in again. There's some Stack Overflow questions about this, and I got really stuck and had to follow all these procedures to do this. So I was a little worried about, okay, what would happen if players actually do this? But it turns out it's only in sandbox mode, so don't worry, but please be aware of it. This is an important one because the quality guidelines, they tell you to avoid losing player progress. Now, I was working on I was saving all the player progress in a little user object in my game. I was holding back the submitting the achievements and leaderboards or your scores to when you are online and when you have never unlocked that achievement. But I was playing around with it, and it turns out, okay, you know, of course they work offline because it's integrated in your game, and you can just fire away all the events that you want to do. So one of my games, they start with the very simple achievement. That is the achievement that when you complete the very first tutorial. And you can just fire it away, even if you're offline, but if you're signed in, and the next time you play the tutorial and you get the same achievement, you can just fire it away again. So don't worry about it. This is really nice that both Game Center and Google Play services work like this. Okay, this was not in the quality guidelines, but I got a few users who asked me, okay, let me go back in time. I created, when I released Oh No, the white puzzle game, it started with achievements and leaderboards. And then people asked, could you put them in the previous game as well? So I did, and then turns out that I made it impossible for some achievements to be unlocked by people who have been playing the game for a while. For instance, the little tutorial. If you had completed it, this would not be sent to the server, and you would not get credit for it. And the good thing is, people complain about it. You get emails like exactly that. So you have to. It was a problem with the tutorial that once you completed it, you don't get the achievement. So this is something that you do need to manually store. So it would be wise to build up a little outbox where you store the player progress, or you create a little user object where you store everything in, keep track of the achievements, and if the user decides to sign in with Game Center or Google Play services at a later time, be sure to sync that progress and give them credit for everything they achieved. Okay, this was one that I struggled with a bit, because the iOS developer guidelines say, okay, strive to include achievements for people who are just starting your game and people who are very good at your game. Okay. So I made a few very simple achievements. These are achievements based on how many games you've played. As you can see, this is a list of the achievements in Google Play services and Game Center. I created exactly the same lists, very easy to do. And I credited people for instance, number 7 is called, you've completed 10 games. Yay, good for that. Or even if you've completed 42 games. And specific 10 boards, if you completed 10 boards of 5x5, 6x6, etc., I would give you credit for that. It was just very simple and easy achievements to start with. And I thought, okay, who on earth is ever going to play, I don't know, like 1,000 games? Okay, not going to happen. I held that back to 100. And I thought, okay, that would be a nice threshold for if you're really into my game, and then thank you for that. I thought, okay, you'll get credit for completing 100 games. So these are my friends. That's Marcel, one of my friends. He really enjoyed it. He's playing it a lot. As you can see, I underestimated that 100. I should have probably put in 1,000, right? So I'll be doing that in the future. But there's this little toggle at the bottom, at the top, so you can see not only your friends, but you can see how the world is doing. Okay, so I definitely underestimated this, which is something maybe you should take as a takeaway from this talk. Do not underestimate how your players are doing at your game. Michael is really enjoying this game, I think, more than I do. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. This is a screenshot from Oh No. There's also, this is what Oh Hi is doing. I mean, good God. It almost feels like a punishment playing my game for like 20,000 games, and this is not cheated, by the way. But why is it so fun to do this, to implement this in the game? I mean, I got an email from Jennifer saying, look, I am definitely the #1 player with your game, so can I get like a present or something? And that's the user engagement that you want. So that's why you want to have leaderboards and achievements in your games, in your apps. And I think my next step will be asking her if I can make a Jennifer achievement for any other player who gets 20,826 points or games played. I think now that is a really tough achievement to play, right? Okay, enough talking about the games. Let's see what you need to do in Game Center and Google Play services to set this up. Start with Android. Of course, many of you know there's a difference between your apps and your game services, and I've noticed that many developers don't even touch the game services part. But you can create different apps, and they can connect to different services, even the same services if you want. And the game services are where you store all your achievements and leaderboards. That's where they're kept, where you create them. So go to the Google Play dashboard, open up the game services, create a new one. And for instance, this was the one that I made for Oh No. As you can see, you get a little menu at the bottom saying, okay, there's your achievements, leaderboards, events, there are even quests. You can go nuts with this. It's really cool. And you have to link your apps before they can connect to them, before they are allowed to submit a score or to unlock a certain achievement. It's possible to, so you have to upload your app, you have to upload a signed APK, and I believe there can be a debug APK as well with your debug license. I didn't use that at the first time, so I was having trouble with that, and I was actually testing a release build to get that to work. But I found out that it's really a handy way to do that, although maybe not recommended. But for me it worked, and for some others I know it works as well. I'll be showing that later, how to do that. So you have to link your apps. I think just go ahead, create a new achievement. It's nothing more than that. You create a name, have a nice icon. Some of these things have the default icon, so you don't have to do anything about it. There's nothing more to it than this. This is a new achievement. You can add a new leaderboard. The explanation is really clear. I mean, larger is better or smaller is better for a leaderboard. You can change it to numeric, or you can have currencies. There's even a tamper protection. I had to look that up, what that is. Turns out that, or I believe that it is tamper protection, that you can only connect with this if you have installed your game from the Google Play Store and not from any other stores, like the Amazon store. So you got a very nice list of all your achievements and leaderboards, and Google has a nice button at the bottom saying Get Resources, which is very handy because you can get all your stuff out for any language that you're coding in. So even JavaScript, you just get a nice string. I blurred some of my IDs. You can get them out, put them in your game, and get it all up and running. Okay, now let's look at how Apple does it. Yay. Yeah, come on. Okay. You get Game Center or iTunes Connect. This is a tab, Game Center, which is basically the same as Game Services in Google Play Store. Very straightforward. I mean, there's two blue buttons. Like I said, I can do it. Just add leaderboard, add achievement. There you go. There's minor details in implementation. For achievements, you can get iOS offers a description on beforehand, like you should complete the tutorial, and a text for after you've completed it. But those are basically the differences. The rest is all the same. Add leaderboards. You can have your localization there. And that's basically it for the game services and to set them up. Now we can go implement this the hard way, but I found two plugins, one for Android, one for iOS, that I particularly liked, and they have a very similar API. So let's go over that and see what we need to do to implement that. For Google, you have to get your game service ID out, which is a little number there at the top, below the name of the game. I actually got a very easy one, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, okay. There's your code. You just get that out, and I went with this excellent plugin by PT Gamer. Just use Cordova plugin add command, and you have to specify your app ID, and that's it. Then it's all up and running, and you get this awesome API. Very simple, authorize, signs you in as a user, sign out, a big button to show all leaderboards, to show all the achievements, and a very simple way to unlock anything, like achievement or submit a score. You can provide success and failure callbacks, just two methods to do stuff with it. So this is what I started out with. And then I went back and implemented the same thing for iOS, and I found this WizCore plugin called the PhoneGap plugin Game Center. And they give you almost the same API. Of course, there's no sign out button there's no sign out API for Game Center, but you get, you show leaderboard, you show achievements, and you can report them. There's a minor difference here. This only showed one leaderboard, and I wanted to show all the leaderboards. So those were the basic differences that you get from these plugins. And implementing the all leaderboards API is just a small change in Xcode. You can create a small show all leaderboards. I just included it in this presentation just to show you that it's not that hard to do that, to get the APIs in sync. And then when all that's up and running, yeah, I mean, we can create a little service ourselves, right? We'll wrap this up. So I called it this cunning name called Play Center, which does things for both of them. This is a very straightforward, very simple implementation. It's got some of these if iOS, if Android things. Of course, you can do a very clean implementation. But this works, and it gets the game out. If you set it up like this, it's very easy. Create your own little API, sign out, unlock achievement, submit a score. And I defined specific IDs for both platforms, as you can see, from line 8 to 17. You put them all in there, and there you go. Now, if you look at the auto sign-in technique, I went with a little local storage, saving data, but these are all, I needed only a few name-value pairs. So remember that the player was signed in, so the auto sign-in method just checks if the player was able to auto sign in, or if he or she has declined, and then just sign the user in if he or she still wants to. So then the sign-in method, it's really as simple as this: authenticate both platforms, get a success handler, and if the user accepted, store it. If the user declined, store it as well. And if it was not automatically, you can do stuff with the object that you get back. Probably not alerting in O-Nos, but you can do anything, create specific messages to tell the user what went wrong, maybe a connection error or something like that. The unlock achievement method would be something similar like this. Store it for your own purposes in a sort of outbox before actually sending it away. Then unlock the achievement, or report the achievement or unlock it, and mark it as sent if it was a success. And there's really only, for my games, I only called them after you've completed a level. That's 99% of the time that I used it. As you can see, it's very simple. There's just one level completed method for my games that would just submit your current score. Oh, there's a typo there. Oh no, that's right. It's submit a score for games played, submit a score for your total score. And even this little check, if you've completed a tutorial, I don't know how many times you've done completing it, but we'll just unlock the apprentice achievement, and you'll get a notification if this is the first time that you've unlocked it. And yes, that's it. Bob's your uncle. You can find the source code of oh hi and oh no here on GitHub, including the little Play Center wrapper if you like. So you can all get started with that very soon if you want. I do have some final tips. Okay, I thought these games that I made, what could I make for achievements and leaderboards? How do you rank players if there's just one little board that you play? I don't even have shared boards because they're created dynamically in the app itself. So I thought, okay, what we're going to do? It turns out that this works really well. Just count the number of games you played. It seems like Jennifer really liked that, you know. Time trials, really easy to do. And people really try to beat the best time. I even noticed that some players in Oh No have got really great times in completing the game. One player completed in, what was it, minus 65 seconds. So I do wish to be able, so the temper protection is not working correctly, that's for sure. But that's one request that I do have for Google and Game Center, that there would be a very clear API in the future, so you can easily remove those false scores, because they do happen. But the fact that people complain about it is a good thing, because people really make the game, really get a close connection with the game once you include these. Okay, you get a set of achievement points, so don't spend them all in 1.0. I nearly did that. I'm really happy to have a few left. These are converted into experience points for users. So yeah, don't spend them all in one go. This one's nice. Once you've published a leaderboard, you cannot clear it anymore. Okay, so I fell in this trap. Well, I got first place on my games just before I actually submitted the game. So the only way to fix this was remove the leaderboard, add a new one with a new ID, and submit the game. So yeah, it's not a good idea, so be aware of that. There'll be some other talks about debugging. I found Safari remote debugging very nice just for inspecting the DOM and finding things. I didn't get the Chrome Web Tools, DevTools to work on Android 4.4 web views. I had a little trouble with that, so I'm looking forward to future talks about that. My favorite is JS Console by Remy Sharp. It's just clone it, run it, you get a little proxy, include a script from that local proxy, and you can fire away console logs. It even works if your device is not connected to your computer. It's just excellent to start with that. And this is when you link your app to the game service. I initially discovered that, okay, I probably had to create a release build to actually try and get this to work. But if you create a little AND properties file in the platform's Android directory, put all your passwords in there, like the ID, these are not my passwords, of course. Maybe some of you recognize them. You can create release builds for Android for quick testing. This really works well for testing on a device, which is, I think, which is my preferred way of testing, holding a device, being able to pass it to someone, and see how it works. And this was a takeaway for me. Now that I've used achievements and leaderboards in a game or in an app, I consider them definitely a requirement for any future project that I'll be doing. Okay, so one of the next steps that I need to be doing in a future game, and you may want to do as well, is something that, okay, I have to show you a little trailer about my upcoming game, just to show you how that works. It's about 30 seconds. I see I have way more time, I guess. It's 30 seconds. It's not a grid with numbers, right? That's a good thing. Okay. Thank you. So that's a game I'm working on. And because the setting is this really silent movie kind of thing, this is actually not a recording, this is just a recording from the in-game, where I coded the game engine to be able to create a sort of trailer with it. but it would really break the experience if you get this little Game Center colored icon at the top saying, hey, you've unlocked an achievement. The way you want to see an achievement is like this. If I would have this achievement, I wanted it to be presented in the game experience, in the game look and feel. Now, I haven't seen this in a plugin yet. Maybe I have to Google a bit harder. But it's something that would be a next step for me. I know it's possible. So if you ever get this game and it's in there, so you know that it's working, then I'll open source that as well. So you can use the same kind of custom achievements and leaderboards. So a little recap, really fun, achievements and leaderboards, just do that. Remember to auto-sign in, and if a user declined or not, store user progress, Game Center and Play services work offline. It's really nice, really easy to do. Create very hard to earn experience achievements. Please do so, don't fall in the same problems that I had. Simple leaderboards can be fun. And please implement them in your games as well, because it's just really nice to have. You can find the source code there, oh no and oh hi. There's the Play Center, little implementation there, even the entire source code of the game. So thanks, that's it.
So where did Anis go? Because he needs to set up now. Find him sobbing in a corner or something. Okay, according to this watch we have 3 minutes, according to mine we don't. Might be my watch. So let's go over there quickly. Log in, get all his leaderboards for yourself. Excellent. So you have a very good point about this, that like the leaderboard stuff should be stylable. At the same time, that means it's going to be like you can fish with that and these kind of things. So there's a point that it looks like the operating system because it comes from the operating system. So it will be a tricky thing to do, I guess. There might be a way of doing it, but there is a consistency in like, oh, I gained this on Android or I gained this on iOS.
Yeah, that's true. Now, it's a recommendation for all app developers, all game developers, to offer consistent look and feel, so people they know that it is a Google Play achievement that they received, or but in some games you can. I think it would be a better fit. You can do this in native games, so using it in PhoneGap games would be. It involves a bit more code, but it's possible in all the APIs. So we should be able to get it up and running. But it's still a decision based on the experience that you want to have for the user, if they can, if they should.
In Windows 10, as I hear, we have integration into Xbox Live as well. So it's interesting because that's the third fork in your app, then, or in your library. So maybe a standard would be a good idea. Do you know anything if there's some pointer to that W3C would come up with a standard for achievement and stuff?
No, I wish there was, but right now I don't think it's really a necessity, because using the different platforms as they are, it's really easy to work with that as it is. So it's not really a big effort to work around it and create a little middleware protocol for it. And right now I did it for myself, but I think many users will do that as well, and we'll see how that goes with the Xbox achievements as well. But I really look forward to do that, because the multi-platforms are so close by when you use PhoneGap. So it's something I'll be very interested in.
Yeah, it's interesting that you had problems with the developer tools, because that's the thing where you expect it to be actually more sturdy than in JavaScript library or Remy, but it is a very tricky, hard thing to do. I mean, there's Varlon.js now as well from Microsoft that allows you up to 25 devices simultaneously using WebSockets. And the developer edition of Firefox also has remote debugging for different platforms now, but it is a hard thing to do, especially. How do you do testing across different devices? Do you just use a few, or do you use?
We have a lot of devices, and I think key aspect to that is to just get as many devices as you can and test on the real thing, because sometimes it's not. things just get in the way. You know, devices have different bars, different buttons, and just holding it instead of an emulator or seeing it or getting feedback from a user. It's really, I'm just happy to be able to have many devices at the office for the different projects that we do. So we just pick one out and just do that. And sometimes we go out and even we buy specific devices specifically for testing.
Okay, that's very specific. So thanks for that. If you're in the break, you unlock the achievement of meeting him. It's probably a good idea to have more questions and sessions about this. It seems to be making your app social is just a no-brainer, and it's actually fun to do. And I found by people trying to game your apps, you find flaws in them, and sometimes it's fun because I wrote a shoot 'em up game, for example, and I found out that somebody wrote their own weapons. And then I just included them in the game because I'm like, this is pretty cool.
That's really nice. I think it's really nice to see people gaming your game. That's really a personal achievement. Think, okay, wow, it's worth it. I mean, I've had some of my earlier games have been have been cloned. People have made clones of it that I had to ask to remove them. But even that, it's just really flattering. It's sort of personal achievement. Oh wow, I created a game that people want to rip off.
Yeah, it's also quite fun. I think now they're binary, but the first few things I've seen were that the scores were just a JSON object on the file system, and you went in 80-bit into your Android device, and hey, I've won the game.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's interesting. The gamification of games is quite fun in games as well. So thanks very much. We're out of time.
Thanks.